but it's not really, there's no story behind it, which arguably that is the whole point of being an artist, is that you're a creator with a story behind what you're doing. But it's going to take some while to kind of like take a bit of time to sift through this. So some of the generative AI platforms, I think somebody here is putting together some generative AI platform. What was the name of your company? So that's video, right?
Video.
Yes, okay. Or music, okay. So, and I'm going to get to this. By the way, this might seem like doom and gloom talk right now, but I'm about to turn it around. It's going to be like this whole victory story. Yeah, right? So yes, so I'm going to show you where AI is going to fit, how this is going to hopefully matter. So yeah, creative consumer culture is what musicians and artists and people who dedicated their life to this, this is now what they're up against. And it is daunting, and they don't really know what to do about it. And the consumer creator model, like these people are having a great time because everything's becoming gamified, everything's TikTok and streaming, and these companies are starting to implement this into their company. There's a platform like Spotify. Spotify's making AI artists now, so they don't have to pay royalties. So you might be listening to a track, you're like, this is really cool. Sounds a lot like Dr. Dre, but it's actually an AI artist that they're putting into the system. It's got a little bit of a backstory to it, but they don't have to pay royalties on that because they don't like paying 0.003 cents per stream as is. So they really just need to survive, you know. But this is happening, obviously the labels are part of this, so this whole shift is taking place. Where does that leave the artists? Where does that leave people who dedicated their entire life to doing this? People who are like, ride or die, I'm a bass player to the end. You know what I mean? If bass can be simulated, it can be gen AI. What's the point? And that is where, at this juncture, I believe we're actually seeing an opportunity. And it might not necessarily be through Gen AI music for some, but the majority of these tools that are truly going to impact music and musicians is all the generative tools outside of music. So for the first time, a musician has the ability to supplement what they're creating with visuals, animations, using AI for analytic development. We're able to see like who's listening to what and why. So while the AI artist over here is making some cool stuff, the placement industry is now going to be snatching up AI music because they don't have to pay for it. The musician, the artist, has the opportunity now to usher in what I guess I would call the return of the polymath artist. We've been doing music for a while. You know, we have music, we have poetry, we got film, but with AI, we have the ability, we're heading into a direction where everybody is everything. And now we get to see what in the world does a musician see that goes along with their music. Majority of the visuals that I have for my music would cost me like millions of dollars because I can't afford Pixar to come in and animate something. And I mean, I'd have to say that one of the last major big video productions that sort of changed our minds on everything was what, Thriller? That cost, I think, a couple $1 million to make it. So the ability to make something at that level has not been possible for indie artists, underground artists, barely even major label artists. But now that's what we're about to be, as long as we look at it that way. So maybe you don't want to use generative AI to create a cello line in your song. And maybe you do. Maybe you suck at thinking about cellos and how to make a orchestration for something. So then, yeah, grab that Gen AI and see what it does for you. I don't know the licensing on it. She would know because she's an attorney. That's a whole other thing. A whole other ballgame. But basically, we have the opportunity, the way that I see it, is that we have the opportunity to now approach this from a polymath perspective. And this applies to all kinds of industry as well. Obviously, they're coming out from LA, so the film industry is freaking out about it. But I mean, this is a sidetrack, but a friend of mine, his wife, is the stunt coordinator for a show called The Last of Us. I've never seen that show. Has anybody seen that show? The Last of Us? What is it? It's a video game, right? Yeah. We have an accident over here. So she's basically trying to figure out what to do now because they're going to start AI stunt people. And they don't need stunt people to jump off of cliffs anymore and breaking their neck because they can AI it. So she's trying to figure out like how to adapt to this change. Same with CGI effects, whereas they'd have like an army of people doing graphics and things like that. Obviously now it's going to be, it is becoming AI. Sora is the big one. You right here, who's going to put everybody out of business in Hollywood. But the thing is that people are going to use those tools. There's going to be a group of people who are like, I'm going out of business, I'm going to die. And then there's going to be people that are like, I'm going to make cheeseball stuff. And then there's going to be people like, how can I elevate my art and my craft to the next level? And that is to me the key piece of what is happening that people are figuring out about, but they're not looking at it. Partly because maybe we're lazy. Musicians, we just want to like lay around and make music, and it's hard work to expand upon this stuff. But we really are at this nexus of what is about to happen, as long as we use the tools in a way that supplements and complements what it is we're already trying to do. So the best example for me is the Sphere in Las Vegas. I think you all know what that is, right? It's like a $2 billion dome. And it is absolutely revolutionizing how music and entertainment is done. So, I mean, the technology on that alone is just mind-blowing, but that's where we're at. Like, it's up and running, and when you're in Vegas, it's very cyberpunk, kind of dystopian. I love it. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. But we're heading in that direction as well as musicians, because if we look at it this way, for the first time we have the ability to, and this is coming from, we've had meetings with Meta. I could say why I'm involved with this stuff. Oh yeah, Meloscene is, I created some spatial VR technology that allows for musicians to go into a spatial VR music studio. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we can meet inside our virtual studio and make music together with real instruments, with our own DAWs. You don't have to poke at the air and do weird stuff like that. But that's the spatial computing element that's happening. The other company startup that I have is called ShadowGen, because I got some pending patents on AI latency technology to kill all kinds of latency. But what we're doing is we're heading in this direction to where even the live entertainment experience is about to shift dramatically, because Meta and these other companies are working on these VR, AR glasses, to where when you go to a coffee shop in the near future, instead of just you being there on a stool playing the guitar, anybody who has these glasses is going to be able to put them on and experience essentially what you would experience in the Dome in Las Vegas. But you have to be able to put together those sorts of visuals. So if you want to be in an underwater aquarium or whatever, that's something that the artist does not have several lifetimes to learn how to do with Blender and Unity and all these other programs. But with AI, they can supplement their art with that. So they could have manatees swimming around in a coffee shop while they're playing music. And honestly, what on earth is a manatee in the first place? Is that related to the seal family? What is that thing? Like, I've seen them floating around in the water with scars over their backs. They're adorable, but I honestly don't know what they are.
What are they fighting?
What are they fighting? Like, right? Like, there's a whole, that's a whole other cause. You know what I mean? What are manatees doing out there? Why are we talking about manatees? Right, so basically you're going to need to know how to use these tools, these AI generative tools, to supplement your art if that's what you want. Big giant manatees floating around in the coffee shop while you're making your music. This is what's going to set you apart. The other thing, especially with spatial computing and AI, is that we're leaving the era where your end product is what you make money from. Not that your end product is what you're making money from right now anyways, because of the streaming model. Obviously, these are all broad strokes. I know that there are people that are selling vinyl and whatever else and killing it. That's fantastic. That's never going to change. Everybody has loopholes and different ways they can do it. But we are leaving the age of, I do this to make this, and then I get paid, because very few people are getting paid anyways. Now we're getting into this area where we're going to monetize the creative process, and this is where spatial and AI come into play. Is that people can go into your space with you, you can monetize the door, and they can just hang out with you while you produce music, or score a film, or do whatever you want, or you can do production lessons. But people are going to get involved with the artist's journey for the first time, because the artist's journey is going to be extremely creative and in depth, whereas before, we're all just in seclusion, sitting in front of our laptop. So this is opening up a whole new type of thinking of how in the world we're going to navigate this creator-consumer culture where everybody's smashing out 10 million tracks a day that sound amazing. But where's the artist's story? And that is where we're going to make our money, is by selling our story and who we are, because that cannot be duplicated by AI. The product can be duplicated by AI. The graphics can be duplicated by AI, but the story cannot. You cannot duplicate a human being's story. Even artists that suck have amazing stories, and that's what people buy. Not to throw Bob Dylan under the bus, but the dude's voice is not what people would consider to be great. But they love the story. They love the persona and aura of Bob Dylan, right? But he lives in a time when he sold music. But if he lived in a time now that we're heading into, he would have to sell his story. And that's something that you cannot duplicate. They're going to try it, but you can't duplicate it with AI. So in my opinion, where we're headed, this is actually a gift. We're heading into the resurgence of polymath, the expansion of art if we look at how it supplements exactly what we're trying to say. So again, going back to if you're making music, maybe you're a saxophone player and that's all you want to do, but people are like, I don't want to listen to an entire album of just solo saxophone. You can supplement it. You can create something different around it. You can create a visual experience that you can go into through AR, VR, etc. But you have to use these tools outside of what you're used to do it. So we can talk later if you want about the production tools and the generative AI tools for music specifically, but to be honest with you, there's 10 million showing up a day, like on the music front. So I'd say just Google it, or the easiest one is to go to ChatGPT and talk to it and say, what are some good AI production tools specifically for what I'm doing, which is this, this, and this, and then it'll spit it out. But then you'll be able to go in and go, I've been stuck on this for a while. Now I'm going to take this AI tool and I'm going to expand upon it. And now I have something new to show the world for the first time. So all those songs that are lost on a hard drive because you don't know what to do with them, now they can probably come back out and you can do something with it. So this is an opportunity for us to flex, for musicians to flex, for artists to flex, because we're leaving the age of just being limited and stuck to having to spend money in a big old studio. Like, you know, I used to have to do that. Oh my gosh, I got in such a cycle when I was starting out with like demos, where I would send these demos to this contact at like Sony, and they'd be like, oh, this is phenomenal. We love it. And I was making fried chicken at Ralph's, which is a grocery store in LA. So I'm making fried chicken and I'm taking my chicken money and I'm spending it on studio time. I send it to the label. The label's like, oh, this is phenomenal. We need you to send more. And I'm like, okay, let me fry some more chicken. So I fry some more chicken, get that chicken money, go back to the studio, and so it's just kind of going on, and I'm spending all this money on this, and that's when I got to that point where I was like, well, I wonder if the tools are here to where we can sort of like expand upon things without paying out the nose. So, opportunity. That's where we're headed with AI. If we use these tools to supplement what it is that we do. Now, normally I would wrap stuff up and be like, hey, you guys are great, and let's all go freaking die in a hurricane. But I am curious how many people in here, this is a bit of a different perspective, I think, from some of the other people I've talked at the conference, because this is more from the artist side in a way. But I would be really curious for my own benefit to know if anybody has any questions or input on sort of where we're at, since this is so new. So do you guys care if we sort of do like a little Q&A hangout session, since it's a rainy day? We're all like intimate together. Is that cool? Does anybody have any questions to kind of like kick off the artist's perspective? I mean, honestly, you can ask whatever you want. I'll answer virtually anything. But does anybody have any questions about this? Yes. Should I throw a microphone? Oh shoot, she's got a microphone. She's throwing phones around? Sorry, I feel like that's my fault.
Hi, how are you?